Hello everyone, my name is Renuka, Assistant Professor in Department of Electronics and Communication, Maharaja Institute of Technology, Mysore. Yesterday we had studied about the topic on how a single computer can't handle all the functions in earlier days in 1960s, and we also spoke about what do you mean by centralized computer. Okay, so we should just brief about what is meant by centralized computer and what was the drawback of centralized computer, and why when IC during the IC era, how the computers became very cost effective and very economical, okay, where you could actually have multi computers being installed and how the real-time system operation had begun. Centralized computer control. So, a digital control with analog backup. So, a digital controller will be implicated if you remember where you have logical in as one logical, when it is 1 you have the plant being enabled and valves being enabled. When it is 0, then there is valves are closed and plant is not working. So, and the clockwise and anti-clockwise movement of the motors being controlled. So, these are all controlled by the logical or digital techniques, correct. So, digital control with analog backup, and the signals were passed through analog controller to actuators by digital control signals. It was very costing very high, costs were very high, and both controllers were to be installed. And this we already know if you just look into some of the telephonic industries, BSNL lines, where coming up to telecommunication industry, where you have the latest advancement in telecommunication industry, cellular technology can be taken as one of the best examples for the system. Initially, when you have OFC cables being dug all throughout, in an analog mode, where you have connectivity through cables, okay, and it's just like a nerve system in any body. If you consider India as a body, then neural networks, neurons, the nerve system, the entire neural system, it was just like a telecommunication cable line, correct. So, where you can send receive data at any instant of time. Those are actually wired, it is all wired, it is all wire connected, it is not wireless, right. But later on, if those wired or connecting cables could be used for a digital transmission of data, like that of OFC cables, correct, what will happen? It is beneficial, but the cost is very high, and there are its own drawbacks, right. If there is cut in a OFC cable, it's very difficult to detect, but to correct it, it takes a lot of time, right. But the communication system, where you can have an advantage of getting a huge amount of data in one single second of time. There could be a delay based on the kind of equipments they are using, the kind of band we are using, but still we are capable of having communication, right. But that's the reason, that's how actually using an analog links, you have a digital data being transmitted, okay. Then the problem here, as the BSNL encountered, was they had invested a lot on the analog system, where you have cabling being done, and that's the reason very cost network service providers who have got the same band with very less cost, and it is more reliable for many of the customers, right. So, that's one of the reason why the centralized computer sometimes fail, even in if you consider like the client server, okay. The client is a server is a place where you have all the information being stored. It is a special kind of computer, and you have data being sent through different clients, correct. So, you have a server which is a main controller and sends to many clients. But there are drawbacks, there is a delay, you have to wait for each and every, for every access you need to have permission, right. So, but later on there was development of peer to peer, where the information would be sent, dealt from peer to peer, one system to another system. Now it's cloud computing, so it is quicker, faster and better, right? So, and it's much cheaper than that too in installing a client server installation. But even now we do have such processes. Not everywhere we have the cloud computing we do have, but we still, if it is within the organization limit, then we still go ahead with what is called as client server. Okay. Next, dual computer, it could be manual change over or it could be automatic. So, if you just take this as an example, the block diagram here, what you see is dual computer scheme. So, to overcome with the centralized scheme having just one computer controlling all the peripherals, then there was an option having two computers. So, why this? If one computer fails, okay, the plant will not be affected. Okay. The plant operation will be performed with the help of switching over manually or automatically to computer B. Okay. So, the controlling here from the computer B would be still continued. So, the plant production will not be stopped. Okay. That is why we call it as dual computer scheme. So, the only problem here was like cabling and interfacing. Duplication was tough in case of centralized, and then you have designing, programming, testing and maintaining software was very tough in case of centralized. To overcome all these difficulties, then came your dual computer controller scheme. So, with the invention of ICs again, we have microprocessor, microcontrollers, and then came the era where you have multitasking, multi-computing technology came into being. Okay. So, now the automatic failure and changeover equipment when use became very critical in case of centralized, and problems in designing, programming, testing, maintenance of software also reduced and changeover could be provided. So, now continual reduction of cost of hardware because of the invention of ICs and the development of microprocessors have made multi-computer system very feasible. So, there are two types in which you can classify the entire. The first is called as hierarchical, which is the tasks are divided according to the functions. Then you have distributed. So, many computers perform essentially similar tasks in parallel. So, there are two types as we can see here. One is called as hierarchical, other is called as distributive. In your syllabus, you just have hierarchical system. This hierarchical system, the terminology came into being because of the management. Okay, management. It is still not been transparent yet. Okay, so you have, if you want to pass the bill or if you want some work to be done, there are hierarchy in which you have to approach to get the task being completed. Right. So first you have this. For example, in management terms, you have nearly about 7 different types of structure, organization structures, among which hierarchy is one of the prime, operational organization levels, where you have the first is the CEO, then you have managers, then you have the supervisors, then you have the team leaders, then you have the employee, the team, or the employee in the team. Okay. So now if a person takes a leave, okay, or if there is any issues related to one particular a worker in the sub bottom level, what will happen? He can't directly go to a CEO, right? He has to first go to a team leader. From team leader, it goes to the supervisor, and the supervisor will keep forward the issues to a manager, and manager, HR department, they'll take care of all the issues. From HR, it should go to a CEO, get a signatory, and then it would be sent to the, it would again go back in the same hierarchical down step and to the person who is an offender, correct? So, this is kind of hierarchical system based on the function that they are going to perform. Apart from that, they have in management term, they have plenty of other organization levels. Okay, it could be a flat level, or it could be a matrix level, or team lead level. There are many such functions. So let us just concentrate on what is this hierarchical approach or a hierarchical mode of functioning. So if you just see, we can just take it as a triangle here. The top notch, what you see is a top level decision making. So in terms of an industry, then we can take this as a top as a CEO. Then you have the bottom level. So many decision centers would be there. Okay. Then you have supervisory team, and all these team comes under what is called as the intermediate. So you have top, intermediate, and bottom level. Okay. So now if you just consider one small cell here, okay, this small cell, this is the complete structure. Okay. So if you take a decision making, how the function is to be performed. So if you just take a small cell here, it has been enlarged. So here we have what is called as decision making. Okay. Decision making, information is sent. Okay. It will be sent to the decision maker. What does it do? It reverts back. It sends a command back. Okay, from the same level. So you can, this decision making can be obtained from the commands can come from the higher level. Okay, or it could be from the constraints. If you see here, these are the constraints associated with that level. That level in the sense, if I am talking about low level, okay, the decision making should happen in that level itself. So what are the constraints associated with that decision? It is, it is sent to the commander, the commands from the high level will be received in the decision making. It will be sent to the next level. Okay. And next the information is sent back to the higher level. So you can see that is dual. So you receive the command from higher, you send the information back to the higher. So for example, when I gave you a previous example, if there is any issues regarding a person working in an institute, what will happen? A decision has to be made for which information is sent. Information can be sent from the lower level, okay, or a command can be given from a higher level. But once the command is received, okay, then the command has to be delivered back to the person, right? Or the information here regarding the person would be sent to higher up, correct? Based on the kind of constraints in that particular level. Got it? So there is a information sent to the constraints. Whatever the constraints are there, along with that, so the issues, the set points, everything would be decided here at the decision making, and then it will be sent to the higher up. Okay. So this is how actually a small bit of decision has to be taken from lower, that is the bottom level, and it has to be obtained, the decision should be obtained from the top end. Okay. That can be easily explained with a 3-tier or the 3-level managerial system. Here we have a batch control using a hierarchical system. We know that batch is nothing but a set of information that has to be executed. Okay, it is a set of instructions executed in a batch. Okay, if I say the first batch, second batch, third batch, there are set of products that has to be delivered in the first batch, correct? So that becomes a batch processing, correct? So now you have 3 levels of structure. Here you have manager, supervisor, and the control unit. If you just see the block diagram here, the top end becomes a manager, 3 levels. So this is the first level, this is the second, and this will be the third level, right? The top becomes the manager, the intermediate here becomes the supervisor, and this becomes the control, correct? If I take a plant, okay, the managerial level, supervisory level, and you have a, what is this? This is nothing but the control level, correct? So now what is the operation of a manager? He is in charge of resource allocation, okay? So which means he has to get the orders, okay, find out the cost of the orders, correct? And then he should also schedule the order, when it has to be delivered, what is the kind of raw material that we have to take. So all this is done by the manager. Not just that, he has to also monitor the action of a supervisor, right? So what is the action of a supervisor? He receives the initiation. So initiation is, if you want to start any product, there should be some kind of a schedule which is prepared by the manager. It is handed over to the supervisor, and supervisor will start initiating according to the schedule. Okay, what kind of product has to be released, okay, based on the kind of area that it has. Okay, how many what kind of raw materials can be accommodated in that particular room. Okay, so that this recipe will be initiated. Then he has the ability to control the entire operation, and he coordinates between all the control units. So I can just say that a manager has one computer, the supervisor will have one computer, and if you just go down here, this is complete control unit. Okay, if you remember, we had come across C, block C, correct? So each controller will have one computer, okay, to monitor and to check with any errors, because we also studied about what do you mean by adaptive controllers. These adaptive controllers could also be implemented in controllers, right? In that, so that has to be there has to be a computer in each and every control unit. Okay, so just to monitor the action, check with the reference model. It could be a reference model type, or it could be just a tuning, self-tuning method, or it could be pre-programmed. So any of the adaptive controllers would be there in the controlling station, so which has to be monitored. So those monitored, all the system will be internally connected, and that will be supervised by the supervisor in his system. So it becomes like a server, right? So now here in these units you have individual computers, okay, and then the production cost, if you just look into the operation. So this is a complete hierarchy of the entire 3-batch or 3-tier system. First is a managerial, supervisory, and the control. Okay. Now let us understand what are their operations or what are their roles, because whenever we talk about hierarchy, it is based on the function that we are going to decide the hierarchy, correct? So let us know what is the individual level function is. Okay. So now single computer managed, so there is production cost, operating cost for each unit, and scheduling maintenance plan. This is done either in the daily or depending on the production time. So this is nothing but the operation of your manager. Next, the production schedule is given to the supervisor, that is done by the manager. Information on the product, the set points, alarm condition, tolerance, etc. loaded down into the unit controllers as they are to carry out particular operation during each stage of production. So what is the alarm, what kind of alarm system, tolerance system, all these has to be dealt and planned by the manager. In addition, supervisory will receive regular reports of the progress of each unit and resolves any conflicts in the demand and resources where they have energy, input, total time, and capacity. So if I take supervisor level into consideration now, what is his main work or the function? He should be able to initiate all the actions, okay, given by as per the schedule given by the manager, and he should also look into if there are any new demands. Okay, he should be able to deliver those demands by increasing the production as per the requirements. Okay, there can be sometimes a huge demand for a particular product. What should he do? He should create, definitely there will be a penalty on excess production of that demand, but still he should be able to scale into that particular demand so that he can deliver the product on time. Okay, so that becomes a very crucial attribute of this supervisory level. Okay, and the penalties are imposed for exceeding a specified KVA rates. If there is KVA rates being increased, then definitely there will be a penalty. So all these are borne by the supervisory level. Next, coming to the lowest level of the pyramid is nothing but the unit controller and the responsibility of the operation of the entire plant. So it involves opening and closing of valves, It could be switches, controlling temperature, pressure, speed, flow, monitoring alarms and reporting plant conditions. So these are all the operation that has to be performed at the operating level or controller level. It should monitor all the set points. I can call all the set points at the operation level, the production level, and then it has to be reported, periodically or daily, on a daily basis to the supervisor. This is the bottommost level of the pyramid. Okay. So now this is how it looks like. The production schedule is given. Okay. Then you have a recipe that is 1 data operations are performed. There are n number of such data operations will be dealt. Then you have operation will be selected, the task will be completed, and then the measurement controller will be initiated by the process unit, which is already designed by the manager, and it will be set. A report will be set and then it will be controlled. So this is unit T, this is operation, this is the entire scheduling. So this is one of such example in a production line. If you want to understand this in a simple way, the best example is if there are any marriages happening at home. Okay. Now what is the plan for lunch or breakfast or for dinner? Okay. So you have to plan for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Okay. The first thing is, how can we accommodate, where should we be able to accommodate them? So what do? You go for a search of a chowdhury, correct? How can we accommodate? How many people can we actually accommodate in a single stretch? Okay. Because any marriages, food is a very memorable thing, right? They say that this marriage was very good because of food, because of XYZ, correct? So now if I consider the production of food, okay, if you consider this as a plant now, let us take an example, okay. So what happens there? There you have the chef who will be actually noting down all the requirements given by the father of the groom or the bride. He'll be writing all the the items that needs to be served, correct? That is a production level, correct? He is a manager now. He says that these are the things that has to be ready. Who is a supervisor now? So the person, the chef, becomes the manager for his block. Okay. The supervisor is a person who makes sure that these products, which we call the items, to be served, okay, and it should be prepared by the batch of chefs, correct? Okay. There are servers who are involved, okay, who deliver all the items to a person at that instant of time when it has been when there is a call, then they immediately start serving the food in an order, correct? So what does it mean? So it should be very systematic. Only the list is given by the manager, it is handed over to the supervisor. What is the and he also says that this is a day, this is a date, and this is the time that we are going to start. You should be ready with all the entities. What will the supervisor do? Now he'll go to that venue where the program will be scheduled. He'll check what is the dimension of a kitchen where he can actually accommodate all the raw materials, correct? And then he'll plan. It will not be haphazard. He should plan it systematically. Okay, it starts with, if it is an Indian cuisine, Indian cuisines are plenty, right? So if you just come to South Indian, so you have rice, sambar and so many other things. So he'll go in an order, okay. He'll make sure that they are placed in the right order so that it become easy for during the serving process, right? So it will be systematic. He'll plan accordingly and he'll place all the raw materials at one stack, right? Now, then what will he do? He'll try to give orders to other chefs to prepare a particular item of this quantity. Okay, this is the total number of, as per the raw materials delivered. He'll say that this is how you have to prepare. This is the total, probably a bag full of, or it can be about dozens, thousand pieces or 1,500 pieces based on the chart they have already prepared. So they'll say sweet is this particular order. Salts are these orders, salads are these. So you have a hierarchy. So there will be work allocation for each and every chef there, right? And time duration is also given. So they usually don't start on that day. There will be pre-prepared processes that happens one day before, okay, because they don't want to deliver the product delayed. Okay, they want the item to be served on that day, for which there will be prerequisite preparations even in the plant, right? Next, after that, what happens when the day of celebration would be there, then they'll usually start the food by 1 o'clock and they start serving it systematically, okay, and it is systematically done and all are happy. But let us assume that if the number of people who have entered into that hall exceeds 1000, it becomes 1500. Okay, then comes the penalties. Okay, then comes the the demand. So that demand, the supervisor has to have a thought process. If it is just designing only for only 1000, gone. So what should he do? He should always plan for 1500. So if he has already planned for 1500, he has absolutely no problem. If the demand is there for a product, what should he do? He should be prepared and he should ask others, okay, the other chefs to increase the quantity. They start preparing again. Before the end of the last batch, they would have already completed for the next 500. So that is how, based on the kind of demand, they will actually lead to the production. Then definitely, if they are doing it more than 1000 persons, they will get the cash for extra 500. That is a penalty, isn't it? The same way here in the plant, these are the ways that the function has to be performed based on the any kind of it need not be just managerial system. It is adapted even in the college, in academics, even at home, even wherever you take, you have this triangle, okay, the bottom and the intermediate and the top level, okay. So this is the main function of any hierarchical system that could be adapted in real time operations. So I hope you have understood the entire module. So I'll just make sure that you can just get the summary of the entire module. Here is the summary of the entire module. Thank you for listening.